Hello, beautiful souls. I hope you are doing well today and welcome to today's podcast, Transition to a Higher Dimension, Observe Your Mental World. If you are new to my channel, I welcome you to subscribe so you can receive notifications every time I post, and share and like the video so others can have access to it if they need to. And if you are returning subscriber, I thank you for sticking with me and journeying with me through this self-care podcast that I decided to put together. If this is your first time connecting to my podcast, I welcome you to check out my previous episodes of this podcast, starting with the intro and a few other episodes. So this way you get an idea where I'm coming from and you'll get to know me a little bit more, especially in the intro portion of this podcast. So also I would like to notify you that I am running a retreat on June 16th, Body, Energy, Awareness and Movement, Anchoring into Your Natural Self and Embodying Your Dream. During this retreat, we will dive deep into your natural self, beyond the identifications, beyond all the stories we've created in this life, just diving deeper into who you are truly, connecting in the nature through many modalities I incorporate into my retreat, such as Qigong, Asana yoga practice, meditation, breathing, lots of discussions, lecture, knowledge, and lots of nature. Forest bathing in the nature, checking out the Dome Rock at 7,000 feet above sea level, where I will guide you through the meditation. And we have hot springs here at Vedanta Spiritual and Holistic Retreat. So I would love for you to join me this June 16th through the 19th, 4 days, 3 nights. Check out my website for further details, oxanabeam.com, and connect to me for more details and bookings. That being said, I would love to begin this episode that I would consider probably the most needed for majority of us, the most complex for majority of us, the most problematic for majority of us, but the most rewarding for majority of us, if not all of us. Our mental world is everything to our existence. Mental world is where we live typically, because thoughts and mental processes is what actually creates everything around us. In my knowing and perception and practice, I differentiate, at least in the beginning of understanding what mind is, into two different parts. One part is our immediate processes, everyday tasks, everyday thoughts, what I would call ego mind, that does the tasks in this three-dimensional world at the moment, as we transition into a different, higher dimension. So that mind always collects data. It collects stories from the childhood, from previous lives, from every situations you have possibly lived on. Imagine a computer disk that we no longer have. And it pretty much records everything that has happened, that is happening, and it's kind of available to you if you need access to that. And the other part of our mind is the higher intelligence, is the mind that is the creator of everything. It's the mind that what I would call collective mind that operates differently from our ego mind. And that's the mind that creates worlds, right? Creates things beyond limit. But I will start speaking about the immediate mind that we have access to right here. And not that we don't have access to the higher dimensional mind, higher intelligence mind. We do. We always have access to that, always. But if we are caught up and only use and operate on our ego mind, then we simply, at that point, do not have access, or at least full access spectrum, to the higher mind. And that's where all the modalities can be very useful, such as meditation, yoga, breathing, qigong, movement, silence, nature, and many others actually. They help us to have full access to our higher mind. Not even our higher mind, the higher mind. It's not an individual mind, it's collective mind that we can reach into and pull whatever inspires us, whatever resonates with us. But while we are still swimming in our daily thoughts, it's a little bit hard to get through to the higher mind. It's when we can silence our chatter, our immediate ego mind, then we have more apparent, easier access to the higher potential mind. But for deeper understanding, I guess, you can imagine that our ego mind resides within the higher intelligence mind. So the higher mind pretty much is in charge of our ego mind. In a sense, nobody is in charge of anything, or nothing is in charge of anything. Yet that higher mind created the ego mind. So, that being said, first I would love to present simple questions for you to explore on your daily basis before we jump into deeper understanding how to operate, I guess, our immediate mind on daily basis. So I welcome you to start asking yourself questions from the very beginning of your day. As you wake up, and typically, I don't know about you, but when I wake up, usually I don't think right away. I reminisce and remember the details of my dreams. So that's why I typically say I love to ease into my day, because I take some time in the morning to reflect what took place while my body was still asleep or not conscious, I guess. So for me, I still dive into the dreams and explore them and understand the meaning and put, everything together again and connect the dots and explore there. And then from that moment forward, I go into my daily mind. I might do a different episode just about dreams because I've always been fascinated from childhood what dreams are and how is it that we go to sleep, quote unquote, wake up and continue living this life. But that's for a different episode. So I welcome you to start noticing how your mind operates. Start noticing your pattern thoughts. Start noticing your thoughts and how you address certain things with your thoughts, certain situations and people. And first, start noticing what you start thinking the first thing in the morning, the first time you wake up, the moment you wake up, the moment you open your eyes. Start noticing what thought you're catching, what thought is coming into your awareness. And then maybe the next day you can do the same thing and maybe write down, has the thought changed or not? And this way you start noticing how maybe you are repeating the same type of scenario the first thing in the morning. Because first thing in the morning it sets the tone for the for the full day. And then you can start noticing, do you jump right away into what you must do today? Or perhaps you jump into, with your thoughts, what you did yesterday. So you're going back into the past. Or perhaps what you will be doing, not even today, but tomorrow. Are you jumping already into the future? Future doesn't exist, or even the past doesn't exist. It all is at once, but we perceive it. We perceive it as past, present, and future. So you can observe what kind of processes you have embodied right in the morning, right in the beginning of the day. Where's your thoughts, mind goes right in the beginning of your day. And start really learning how you trained your mind to operate. And then you can also observe whether you start your day with kind of positive, uplifting, inspiring thoughts, or perhaps the opposite. Thoughts that are draining you, thoughts that are saying, oh, today has begun and I have to do so much. I'm already tired just from thinking about it. So make a note of those thoughts. And also, just FYI, next episode will be going into the emotional realm and your emotional world, because our emotions are created by our thoughts. So I will not go into the emotions today in this episode, but just keep in mind that your every thought leads to your every emotion in your body. And when you start observing your thoughts, I welcome you to be a neutral observer. Simply make a note of what type of thoughts are coming in and out of your immediate mind. immediate space within your mind, I guess. Even though thoughts are not residing in our minds, we are attracting them, pulling those energetic particles we call thoughts into our immediate space. Because we are energy, as we discussed in earlier episodes, and everything is energy. So thought is an energy. And that's why it's very beautiful and important, in my opinion, opinionated opinion, to recognize what kind of thoughts we're pulling toward oneself. Because when we realize what kind of thoughts are coming in, we understand whether we want to entertain this kind of energy to be pulled in toward us over and over and over again. Because without understanding what kind of thoughts we draw to ourselves on a daily basis, we don't know whether we want to change our thoughts or not. Because it's in our power to change anything. It's our choice to think one thing every day, or to choose to think another thing every day, or a different day. We all have a choice to create a specific meaning to any experiences we have in our life. And that meaning pretty much turns into a thought about that experience. So one person can assign a meaning of gratitude to a difficult situation in his or her life, and another person can assign a meaning of hardship and sadness to a difficult situation. So we all have a choice how we perceive that situation, and that creates a thought about that situation. And then, of course, with the thought, we create the next step of our life. Because if we think one thing today, immediately we won't be able to think completely different, opposite thing. Usually it is a continuation of that same kind of scenario that continues and creates, of course, thought patterns and patterns in our life that we perceive as physical patterns, because we are living in still physical reality, even though physicality is still energy that is not visible to our eye. So becoming an observer, conscious observer of your thoughts is an important step in recognizing what thoughts you're thinking about yourself and life. So simply sink in into yourself and begin noticing what typically you think about yourself. You know, how do you describe yourself? How do you describe your character? How do you describe the way you look? How do you describe your life? Because description of yourself, your life, your body, your home, it becomes your reality and physicality. You might not even look the way you describe yourself, but it is your thoughts that are thinking that way about yourself. And then it becomes your reality. So our thoughts are our reality. And when we begin really understand that we are creators of those thoughts in our immediate space, we begin to realize that we have a choice to either continue thinking them or pausing them We will jump into that at the end of this episode. I will guide you through a very interesting guided meditation that will hopefully will help you to start slowing down your thoughts. And so yeah, if you start noticing your thoughts, you'll understand whether you like your thoughts or you don't like your thoughts. Because some thoughts, actually many thoughts, just already automatically enter our space because we're used to thinking them for many years. And if we don't do anything consciously about them, then they're going to continue coming into our space because energetically we're pulling them toward ourselves. So begin asking questions. Begin asking questions. Why am I thinking these thoughts if they don't make me feel good? Why am I thinking thoughts of despair, hardship, if I want my life to be with ease and grace? Then why am I entertaining thoughts that everything in life is hard? Right? It's just an example. Because if you continue thinking this is hard, this is not going to happen, this is how it was and it's going to continue being that way, and this is how I look and that's how I'm going to continue look, then nothing will change. Then life will always be hard. Then you will always feel exhausted. Then you will never attract certain things you want, right? So when you start understanding, then those thoughts predominantly operate in your energetic system, then you have a choice now. There's nowhere to run anymore from your thoughts. You have a choice whether you want to change the thoughts, right? Also, I welcome you to start noticing your thoughts when you meet either a new person in your life or existing person, right? And I'm sure with an existing person, you have a history with that person. So what thoughts come into your energetic space, immediate space, when you meet that person? Are they neutral? Are they negative, positive, beneficial, non-beneficial? Or if you meet a new person in your life, and maybe, for example, they look kind of similar to a person that you've met in the past and you didn't have a great experience, are you projecting that experience onto this new person? So start observing kind of what's happening in that mental realm, and whether you coming into a new experience with either existing person or new person neutrally, with no thoughts, or you're pulling those old thought patterns into this new situation. And that's how we actually recreate patterns. Projection is number one. We're projecting from the past experiences with our thoughts into the new experience, whether it's new person or existing person, and perpetuate the pattern of the past thought processes. And of course, the next step is how do those thoughts make you feel, which will dive deeper into this in my next episode. So those continuous thoughts create a sensation deeper within your body, within your energetic structure, that leads to actually different types of outcomes. And one of the outcomes also can be a physical illnesses. Another element of thought process that I want to bring up in this episode is start questioning whether the thoughts that you are attracting or pulling towards yourself on daily basis are actually your thoughts. Are those thoughts familiar to you, or those thoughts unfamiliar to you? Sometimes what happens is because we interact with so many different people in our life, whether it's in person, online, on the phone, doesn't matter. We all energetically one. There's no division if we didn't have a body. So on continuous basis, we interact with other people. And if we don't pay attention to our thought processes, we don't know sometimes whether the thoughts that we're pulling toward ourselves are actually our thoughts. So in this case, that's why it's so important to spend time within your space. I actually recommend daily. At least for me, I must do it daily. I'm extremely open to other energies. And that's why I've really, really worked hard to know how to establish healthy boundaries with other individuals, other entities. And it became one of the most important lessons how to create healthy boundaries. And without healthy boundaries, it's not that it's negative to interact with other people. No. It's beautiful. But if the person is completely always connected to you all the time, you want to understand whether your thoughts are your thoughts, and some thoughts that you're receiving are not your thoughts, because it could be thoughts of another person that lives with you, right? Or interacts with you. So, and sometimes it can be actually even dangerous. And I'm talking about extreme situations when thoughts enter your space and they are violent thoughts, right? Can be any kind of thoughts. So that's why energetic cleanse has to happen daily at night, especially if you start feeling off and feeling like you are not yourself. So question that. Question, is this thought familiar to me? Or this is completely a thought I didn't choose, I never experienced, I don't know where it came from. So I welcome you to start discovering deeper and deeper who you are through your thoughts, and whether you really own those thoughts or someone else kind of sneaked in and put those thoughts into your box. Into your mind box. That's why sometimes we find ourselves living a life that doesn't resonate, doesn't feel right to us. It doesn't feel like it's our truth. It's almost like somebody's manipulating our thoughts, manipulating our mind into believing this is what we want. This is our thoughts. So that could be quite a dangerous game right there, because mind can be manipulated with ease. That's why understanding our thoughts on a daily basis, understanding whether we are content with our thoughts, whether they're familiar to us, understanding what thoughts do we have about ourselves, and do we accept those thoughts fully with contentment and peace, and whether we truly are creating the world, existence that we are content with, that makes us happy. Is it our existence? Is it true to us? So I welcome you to question all of those things, because ultimately it's the thought that creates everything. It's the thought that enters our energetic structure and begins its journey through the processes until the physical reality emerges with your thought. So your thought gives birth to everything you see. So that's where it takes me next. It's one of my favorite subjects, actually. One of them, I have probably few, is the higher mind. The higher mind, the collective mind that has every possible situation, scenario, data there is there. And anytime we wish, we can enter that space and receive the information we need. Yet for that to take place, first, we need to be able to, of course, be aware of our thoughts, understand them, understand that they're ours or not. And then the next step is start creating space between every thought. And then with time, create even bigger spaces between every thought. And then with time, even have space that has no thought. Of course, it won't happen. The last scenario won't happen for a very long time, because we still do live through this life, and we have tasks and duties and things we do, and we need to think. We cannot continue without just not thinking or catching the thoughts. Yet, there are moments or even a longer period of time where we don't have to connect to our immediate thoughts, and we can just reside in that space where the higher mind plays with so many ideas, creations. But for that, we do have to create space for that. We have to create a door into that higher mind data that is accessible by anyone, truly, if one really wants to get there. About 6 years ago, I went through a very profound, deep transformation. And after that, I was, for some time, in the space of no thought. And when I was in that space, not that I did not think of my, I have to get dressed today, I have to make, I still had those minimum thoughts. I have to buy a ticket for the plane ride trip. Yes, those thoughts were there, but there was no chatter. There was no thoughts that describes life in front of you. There were no ego mind thoughts. And that space is so hard to describe in words, but I've gotten used to that space. And in fact, I've lived there for some time afterwards. And I would say probably the past year has been the most year that I had to utilize my ego mind more than before after that happened. But that space is like you're swimming in a calm ocean. And you see every fish, every star in the sky. You just see everything. Because you're not clouded with anything that is in immediate space. And it's very possible to be there. It's very possible, but it does require some effort. And for everybody, it's different. For some people, it might be easier. For some people, it'll be a little challenging. For some people, it's faster. For some people, it's longer road. It just depends on your coding. It depends on how you perceive life, what your history and background, what you do in life. And it does require meditation. It does require silence. It does require nature. And it does require not really be too much interested in identifying yourself with anything anymore. And that's what happened to me. I stopped identification of anything. I kind of lost identification of who I used to be. Many of me. And I went through the process, what I call rebirth, internal ego death rebirth, and identification no longer had a meaning to me, and it was a beautiful state. And typically what happens in from my experience is when a person goes through that, at least when I went through that, some time passes and you kind of like elevating in that beautiful space where life completely holds you in warm blanket. And a different you, different me emerged. And that me still had a personality that I used to have. But the perception of life, the perception of who I was, and the perception of everything was very different. I did not know who I was anymore because I didn't have the same perception that I had before. So it's like almost a different me emerged from that process. And life has changed. Yes, life has changed, and that's what happens. That's what happens when we create wider and wider spaces between every thought, and then we enter that space without thought, just an observation. Then we embody full trust of life, of who we are. That's the expansion that takes place. Some things are dropping, some things emerging, and rearranging happens. And you truly, truly become a complete observer of what is being created on behalf of you by the universe, by Source, God. So that being said, if you find yourself in circumstances or life that you no longer connect to or enjoy, I invite you to investigate your thoughts, to observe your thoughts. And after observing and investigating your thoughts, make a choice, make a conscious decision whether you want to step in onto the path of editing, changing, adjusting your thoughts. Many, I think, so-called gurus or masters say that just observe your thoughts. And yes, that is a must step. But as you observe your thoughts, you either start dropping them and not even thinking thoughts, but of course not continuously, because we all live in this world and thoughts do come. Or you make further decision to not entertain certain thoughts, and also making a decision, maybe sometimes even consciously choosing a different thought, which leads to a change in perception. And that leads a change in your emotional realm, that leads to a change in your life circumstances, and it leads to a different life. And of course, for everybody is different. And of course, everything I've just talked about is strictly based on my personal experience and knowledge. And everyone has their own truth, their own discoveries. And that's why life is so amazingly interesting, because if you look at life with wonder and curiosity, you start really truly enjoying the journey of this process of rediscovering of who we are, how we are constructed, how we are co-creating this life, this existence, how we are part of the higher mind that creates universes, that actually creates everything, whether it's evil or purity. So I thank you so much for connecting to me today. And the next step in this podcast episode is guided meditation that I hope can assist you with creating more space between your every thought, which will help you to observe your thoughts with ease, and then making a decision what you want to do with your thought. I welcome you to take a comfortable sit either on the floor, perhaps with maybe the back next to the wall, or maybe a little bit of a blanket under your sit bones so your knees are lower than your hips. This way your spine will be straight with more ease. Or you can even sit on the chair with your feet flat on the ground. And place your palms on your thighs. You can place palms facing down or up. If you place them down, it will help you to ground deeper. If you place them facing up, it will elevate you a little bit higher in your energy. You'll be open to the cosmos. Take a deep breath, expanding your tummy, moving prana energy, air into your ribcage, expanding the chest, and exhale by pulling the belly button toward the spine. You can inhale again, expanding the belly, moving prana into the ribcage and chest. And exhale from the belly into the ribcage and chest. And take another deep breath on your own. And sink in into your body, feeling the hip bones touching the chair or the ground. You are alert, but your body is relaxed. Shoulders are melting around the spine. You're sinking deeper and deeper into the ground. And just for a moment, imagine growing roots from your hips all the way down into the earth. Your roots are growing bigger, deeper and wider, moving deeper and deeper into the moist of the soil. Creating a web, dancing in the soil of Mother Gaia, connecting deeper all the way down into the core of Earth. And you see a big rock in the middle of the Earth center. And you hooking your roots onto that big rock that holds you down, closer to earth, grounding you, securing you. And with the next inhale, imagine drawing all the minerals and nutrients that Earth gives us through your roots, into your hips, into your stomach, your spine, your chest, your shoulders, hands and arms and toes and fingers, into your head. You're fully connected to Earth. Not just by sitting on it, but being nourished by Earth and what it has to give you. Every cell of your body is being nourished with the minerals and nutrients. And now as your eyes closed, connect to your breath. Keep breathing naturally and just bring your awareness into your chest space. And with your eyes closed, in your vision, imagine open sky with white fluffy clouds. Connect to one cloud and allow whatever thoughts that are coming to you, to your space, be part of that cloud. Whether it's one thought that arises, or maybe more than one, allow that thought to be there. Be part of that cloud, sitting on that cloud. And the wind starts to pick up and blows that cloud from the right side of your brain to the left. And then all of a sudden on the right side of your brain, you see another white fluffy cloud. And whatever thoughts arise, allow them to connect to that cloud and be part of that cloud. And then again, that cloud is being picked up by the wind and moving from the right side of your brain to the left. Allow it to go. And then all of a sudden, there is another cloud on the right side of your brain. And if any thought arises, allow it to be part of that cloud. And you see how wind picks up and the cloud is floating from the right to the left. So allow every thought that arises as you are sitting in silence to connect to one cloud. And observe that cloud floating from one side of the brain to the next and farther away as the wind picks up. And now wind slows down. And the cloud that was floating from the right to the left is sitting farther away from you now. And since there is no more wind at the moment, there is no other clouds in front of you. This is the space between the clouds, where there is no thought that arises. And if a thought arises, the cloud on the right side of your brain appears. So allow that thought to jump on that cloud and allow the wind to pick up and move that cloud to the left side of your brain and away from your brain. And yet there is another space without clouds where you can reside in silence without any thoughts. And if any thought arises, then you see a cloud on one side of your brain. Again. And again, wind picks up that cloud and moves it to the opposite direction and away from you. And then again, there is a space between the clouds. So wider and wider, there is a space between each cloud. Longer and longer, you have the silence without any thoughts. And if there is no thought that arises within your energetic space, then there is no cloud. There's only open sky, baby blue color, allowing you to be in silence. And if another thought arises, then another cloud arises. And the wind picks up and moves that cloud across and away from you. And when thought arises, observe that thought. What does that represent to you? What does it say? Just observe that thought. Allow it to be part of the cloud. And let it move across from the right side to the left and away from you on its own with the help of the wind. Allow it to be. And as you enjoy the silence and pauses between the clouds of the thoughts, you can either enjoy the openness of the sky or sink deeper into your body And start connecting to your breath, connecting to your heartbeat, solidifying your energy if you wish. Or you can even dissolve your energy into oneness with everything else. Deepening your breath here. Inhaling into the belly, moving prana into the rib cage and chest, expanding. And exhaling, pulling the belly button toward the spine. Take another deep breath. Expanding the body, creating space within. Exhale. Bring your head toward the chest slowly. Keep your eyes closed. Send your head toward the right shoulder. Send it back all the way toward the left shoulder and toward the chest. Make another circle toward the right shoulder, all the way around. And as you bring your head toward the chest, switch directions and send your head toward the left shoulder, back, right shoulder, toward the chest. And make another delicious circle toward the left shoulder, all the way around. Bring your head toward the chest. Slowly open your eyes facing down, and only then bring your head facing forward. I hope you enjoyed this brief meditation that I hope can help you to create more space between your every thought, so you can start recognizing what type of thought it is and allowing it to be. And then with time, identifying whether you're welcoming that thought into your life, into your physical creation, or you're choosing to change that thought. So thank you so much for joining me today. I am grateful that you've connected to this episode, and I welcome you to come back. And please subscribe to my channel if you wish. Like and share this episode so others can connect to it. And of course, I will be seeing you next time, and the next episode will be on May 1st. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day. Much love.